Hi, I'm Avraham Cohen. To the members of the Rabbinic Search Committee of Shomrei Torah, thank you for this opportunity to present myself to you. I know that you have many strong candidates out there, continuing in the NFL theme that I presented in my cover letter. I know that there are a lot of Tom Brady's I'm competing against, but since this is the New York, New Jersey area, perhaps continuing in the tradition of the great sage Eliyahu Manning, who pulled out 2 underdog victories for you in the Super Bowl. Hopefully, this Vort will be the start of a game-winning drive. Let us begin. In Parshas Pinchas, Hashem commands Moshe and says, "Alei el har ha'barim hazeh v're'ei es ha'aretz asher nasati l'vnei Yisrael." Ascend Mount Avarim and look into the land which I am giving to the Bnei Yisrael. V're'isos, you shall look at it. V'nesafta el amecha, you should be gathered to your people. Gamata, you also kasher nesaf Aaron achicha, Aaron your brother. In other words, Hashem is telling Moshe to go up the mountain to the observation post in the mountain outside of the land of Israel and to gaze upon it, and then subsequently he will perish from the world and he will not be allowed to actually enter the land of Israel. Now, sequentially, this incident follows the episode with the Benos Tzalafchad, who were vying for a portion of the land that they wanted to inherit from their father, who died in the desert after committing a certain sin. They argue that because their father had not been part of Korach's rebellion against God and his servant Moshe, that therefore they had not rebelled against the crown, and his portion in the land shouldn't be forfeit, and they should thus inherit it. And that's exactly what happened. They did get the land. So Rashi asks, and he says, was Hashem insinuating to Moshe here that the decree against his entry also would be rescinded? That just as the daughters of Tzalafchad received an inheritance and were allowed to enter the land, so too Moshe would be permitted to enter the land. But says Rashi, no, there's a mashal that the king who banned his son from the kingdom, he would not allow him to enter the palace, and he said, you're only allowed to come into the palace gates, but you're not allowed to enter the inner courtyards. Now the Midrash gives an incredible reason, very powerful reason, why Moshe was barred from entering the Holy Land. And that pertains to his special midah, his special characteristic of netzach, of eternity. During the festival of Sukkot, you know, we welcome the 7 ushpizim, the guests, or the other sources call them shepherds. Every night they come into the sukkah, and these are the souls of Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. Each of these holy souls was vested with a certain trait of spiritual greatness. Each shepherd was a conduit through which the world is nourished. Avram represents chesed, Yitzhak represents gevura, which is inner strength and self-restraint. Yaakov represents tiferet, which is harmony and truth, and so forth. Moshe's attribute was that of netzach, of eternity. Because he was the paragon of netzach, of eternity, Moshe Rabbeinu had the Midas touch, so to speak. Whatever he touched turned not to gold, but rather was imbued with eternality. It was permanent. So therefore the eternal Torah was given through him. Moshe achieved the highest level of prophecy way beyond that of any mere mortal. His connection to God was that he was in the innermost inner circle. Because he was so attached to the Eternal One, he himself had achieved the highest level of that trait of netzach, of eternality. And only somebody who is imbued with this trait could be the agent through which the immutable Torah would be conveyed to mankind for all of posterity. Because of this eternality, Hashem would not allow Moshe to enter the land. Later, when our forebears would rebel against Hashem, and they would lose his protection, divine justice would rain down upon them, but rather than destroy Klal Yisrael, Hashem poured out his wrath upon the temple, the Beis HaMikdash. But if Moshe Rabbeinu would have led us into the land of Israel and built the temple, this enterprise would have been permanent. The temple would have been indestructible. It could not have been destroyed, and therefore Bnei Israel could not be sent into exile. Rather, we would have been lost. It's that old expression of your money or your life. Right? There would have been no choice. The money, in other words, the temple, could not be taken. Only our lives. So God, therefore, in his infinite mercy, kept Moshe out and prevented him from building the temple. So the question is, why did Hashem tell Moshe instead to gaze upon the land? Says Rav Uziel Malevsky Zatzal that by gazing upon the land and by yearning for it, the impact upon Klal Yisrael would be a tremendous cheshek, a tremendous unshakable love for the land of Israel. Incredible attachment to the land of Israel. Like it says in the Shema, Lo taturu acharei levavchem va'acharei einechem. Don't stray after your heart and after your eyes. And the Baalei Musar explain that there's a direct correlation between the eyes and the heart. What the eye sees, the heart craves. So Hashem wanted Moshe to apply this attribute of Netzach, this eternal streak, and gaze upon the Holy Land, and this would so profoundly affect the soul of Klal Yisrael that the love for and the connection to Eretz Yisrael would be indestructible. Even in the exile, with the temple destroyed, and so much of the Jewish people enfeebled in spirit and in Jewish knowledge, mired in assimilation, still the yearning for Eretz Yisrael would be so intense that it would awaken the dormant Jewish soul and bring it back to life. It's why we feel such an intense emotional groundswell as soon as we enter the airspace of Israel. Why we feel more at home walking the streets of Jerusalem than we do in our own parks in our own cities back home. Why we feel that intense love for every Jewish Israeli when we are there. And why nothing else seems to matter every minute and every second that we breathe the air and walk the land of Eretz HaKodesh. It's because Moshe Rabbeinu, unable to enter the land and build the temple, instead, with his midah of Netzach, he built the Mishkan within our hearts, and this created an imponderably intense love of Eretz Yisrael. Thank you.